So
I had a note to do it. Okay. Quorum being present, I'm going to open the meeting of the Bellingham Conservation Commission for the evening of February 9th and call it to order pursuant to Governor Baker's signing of Senate Bill 2475, an act related to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. The Bellingham Conservation Commission will meet utilizing the Zoom online option. Instructions and invitations are available at the town website, www.bellinghamma.org. We'll proceed with the opening of the first continuation. The Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold continuations of public hearings in accordance with the Mass Woods Protection Act, General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40. The Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw on the notice of intent for the proposed roadway mitigation along the site frontage entrance to Curtis Apartments as required by Mass DOT, including installation of additional catch basins connecting to the existing system at the eastern end of the site and within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands. The site is located at Assessor's Map 51, parcels 4, 4A, 4B, 6, and 8 at 161, 163, and 167 Mechanic Street, Bellingham. Keith Lincoln, Chappell Engineering, Boston Post Road, Marlborough has submitted the filing on behalf of Russell Dean, Campanelli, 1 Campanelli Drive, Braintree. The continuations will be held via the online Zoom option on Wednesday, February 9th at 7. Okay.
actually,
I was having some network difficulties. I'm driving right now.
I am
Hands-free, I hope.
looking for Jeff Krebs.
Is Jeff Krebs here?
Is someone from Campanelli present?
That'll also be a short hearing.
Well, okay. Frank is here. I was hoping to be able to just reiterate some of the stuff that's been going on since the last continuation and some of the information that has been disseminated to the commission. So let me proceed. If everyone will recall, a part of the problem here is that we found a pipe in the DOT drainage system that was clogged with silt. And further investigation showed that at the outfall, there was a problem with silt accumulation and water that was not exiting the drainage pipe. So we agreed that I would go out in the field and meet with representatives from the applicant and try to determine whether or not the silt was creating an impediment to positive flow from the discharge of the pipe. With the frost line being at 4 feet, we have been unable to go out there and do that yet. We're hoping that, well, the applicants requested a continuation to March 9th. We're hoping that before March 9th, there'll be enough of a thaw so that we can go out in the field and actually determine what needs to be done. In the meantime, a video was sent out showing overflow from the basin, and the basin was constructed as part of the Lincoln Properties improvement, and it seems to be overflowing, and a portion of that water is collecting at the outfall from this applicant's project. So that's about where we are now. Frank happened to go out in the field today and take a look at it, and I'll let you discuss your
Since I had nothing better to do today, I drove to Bellingham and wandered around. And there were a couple of sites I wanted to take a look at, and this happened to be one of them.
Frank, shut the fuck up.
Okay.
all right. Well, we know what to do there.
I removed them.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a nice day.
Anyways, I walked along the detention basin. I walked through the woods. I walked up to where the culvert comes out. And what I noticed is there was lots of channels coming from the detention basin. So water appears to be overflowing not only over the spillway, but also over a portion of the berm, the earthen berm. I didn't see any erosion there, but you could very, very clearly see water flow paths. Where the culvert comes out, there's a very well-worn channel, and there's a good amount of a tan sediment all over the place, immediately downstream of the culvert. Couldn't tell what the color of the sediment inside that catch basin, the manhole, I'm sorry, that was found, but I got to think it's coming out of that pipe from that catch basin, from the manhole and the pipe that goes into it that's full of sediment. The probably about 15, 20 feet.
Excuse me.
Sure.
I have a question.
You'll have to wait your turn, please.
Okay, I'm sorry, man.
No problem.
Anyways, there's like a stand of Phragmites, maybe 15 feet or so from the outfall. And it appears that silt has accumulated there because at one side of it, there's pond and water that was probably within an inch or so of the top of the culvert at the outfall. And then it drops down 6 or 8 inches and flows into the channel. And again, the sediment. So my thought is that there needs to be some limited work to try to regrade that area. It's got positive drainage down the bottom of the hill. And it would be handy because of the sediment that's going out that I think is coming. I didn't see any other source other than coming out of the culvert. I think the work needs to be investigated as to how you fix that upstream source of all the sediment going into that cross culvert, the 12-inch cross culvert. So I have pictures, but they're not that great. And if you're really interested, I'll send them. I'll send some to Ann. She can share them with you folks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So again, what I'm going to suggest is that I go out in the field, work with the applicant to try to determine what course of action is necessary. In our conversations with Frank today, he talked about the fact that there may not be an easement there. This is an outfall that was constructed. It was a direct discharge onto someone else's property like they used to do 40 years ago. And so it's country drainage. And this project is being undertaken at the request of Mass DOT. So I think we may ask the applicant to start interfacing or interacting with Mass DOT in order for them to be able to be aware of the fact that DOT may have to foot the bill for some of this work or obtain necessary easements, because without these improvements, it's not going to function. So
We're going to be able to see this on a plan.
right now, there's nothing.
Okay.
So, but what will happen? Any corrective action will have to be shown on some kind of a plan.
The record plans they have are very limited.
Yeah.
And again, I think that a limited survey may be required, but I am concerned about the easement. I mean, the right of way is probably to the toe of the slope, maybe a little bit farther, based on just the record plans for Route 140. And this work is going to be outside of that.
So what we have here, Mr. Vice Chairperson, is a can of worms.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice. So what I'll do at this stage of the game is I will, at the applicant's request, in pending better weather, I will entertain a motion to continue the hearing to the evening of March 9th at 7 o'clock.
So moved.
Hey, so Phil Garriou, he's in the waiting room. I didn't know if that
That's
would-
okay.
He's okay.
He'll be
Yeah,
fine.
he's okay.
Thank you, Noel.
By the way, thanks for having a quick trigger there, Noel.
Oh
You
my
beat me
gosh,
to
you
the-
got to.
Beat me to the punch.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion to second. Is there any discussion? All in,
Can you do?
I'll do a roll call vote. There are a lot of folks present. Mr. Vice Chairman,
Neil.
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Noel,
Aye.
and Ariane.
Aye.
Okay, that's a unanimous vote. Anything that's discovered in the field will be passed on
Let's share.
to the commission.
Yep.
Okay. So we have a couple of minutes before the next hearing. What I'd like to talk about, we have two pending site walks right now. One of them is for a abbreviated notice of resource area delineation off of Maple Street. It's an area that I expect to be very difficult. We have high groundwater, flat terrain. We'll need to see herbaceous vegetation, and we still have snow cover. And as I mentioned earlier, 4 feet of frost. I would imagine that with a delineation this difficult, we're going to need soils. So I'm not suggesting that we do that one. However, the administrator and I were out on the site at Lover's Lane, and the snow is starting to melt. In the next few days, I think we'll probably have more snow melt, and we may be able to see what's going on at the toe of the slope for the wall repair at Lover's Lane. So is anyone available for Saturday? Because there's a potential for more snow on Sunday. If we can go out on Saturday, meet the applicant's representative, that would be Mark Arnold from Goddard. We can evaluate the work, look at the areas where he's proposing buffer zone enhancement.
Now, I have not reached out to Mark, so I don't even know if he can make it Saturday, but we figured we'd start with seeing who is available from our group.
I'm not available this Saturday morning.
Okay,
I live for these adventures, so I'm certainly available.
I'm available.
okay.
Um,
Ladies?
I will not be around this Saturday.
Okay. And Ariane is driving, so. All right, based on the fact that we can get 3 members and the administrator on site, I'm gonna ask the administrator to reach out to the applicant's representative to see if he's available. Because again, she hasn't checked with him. He may not be available, and we'll advise.
I'd have
I don't
to
think
pick
it's
it
a
up.
big deal either way. That weather forecast is showing maybe a couple inches on Sunday.
On Sunday. Right.
Next
Okay.
week would be all right if we had to.
So would any of you be available the following Saturday if we can't get Mark this week?
Yes.
That's the 26th, right?
19th,
All right. Yeah, yeah,
yes,
That should be.
I'm good.
because I live for these, like Mike.
I'm no meaning in my life until Saturday comes up where I get to do this, yes.
Thank you.
Saturday morning site inspections, it's awesome.
We're gonna set this up for 8:30, and again, I will let Mike and Brian know.
If it's going to be the 12th or if it's going to be the 19th,
Well, let you all know then.
okay?
Weather permitting, of course.
Of course.
Exactly, yeah,
Whether or not we go.
yeah.
Okay, the next thing before we go to our hearing is we have the MACC annual conference coming up. Last year it was done virtually via Zoom, and the range of seminars was impressive. It goes for 2 weeks. I think that personally, I think I took about 8 seminars, highly instructive. I really encourage members to participate, but what we'd like to know right now is anyone not going to attend, because we won't hold up putting in the invoices and all of that. Okay, Neil will not be present. Brian,
Great, that's good.
okay.
Quick question, Madam Administrator. I did try to book them tonight in anticipation of the meeting, so I say, and when it gets to the payment portion, even though it advises you to forward the invoice to your other paying party, in this case, you guys, it doesn't give you an option to do that on the payment checkout page. You have to put in a credit card and so forth, which kind of defeats the purpose of forwarding the invoice. So should we pay and then get reimbursed? Or is there something I'm missing?
No, what we want you to do is you want you to get an invoice. There was also an email that you could send to Lindsay Martucci, I think her name. You could send that registration form in and ask her for an invoice. I know this is complicated every year, but this is the way the
It
time.
seems like the web page is talking about you can do a la carte, you can do the book one and take as many classes you want, pay one fee, which I did. And it's advised you right in that if you're paying by a third party, that you should go to the invoice section and click on in your account and click on invoices and then forward that sort of to your paying party. And yet you can't do that until you finish checking out, I guess, to show that you've made a payment, and then in which case you have to pay. So it's sort of that they're not catching something there. Also, I'm missing something on the page. But all right, yeah, I'll look at for that email from Lindsay about with a Lindsay connection, try it that way. But yeah,
And
definitely.
I think there's also a phone number there too, Mike. I'm sorry that you have to go through this. We'll probably be facing the same thing ourselves, so.
Cool.
Minutes.
Okay, has everyone had an opportunity to peruse the minutes of January 26th?
Yes.
I'd be disappointed if the answer was no, Mike.
Can't disappoint Amy. Actually, the very last page, the last section under other business, that's all I got is one very tiny thing
Other business.
just before the adjournment.
Yes, yes.
I think the MAC conferences will be held virtually, LY.
Oh, thank you, Michael. That is great. Appreciate it.
Because I Googled virtual just to see if there was some other catch on it, and it's close, but not quite. So it's like it was a virtual tie, almost. I don't think that's quite what we mean.
I think
We'll see how the conference
Amy gets an A on this one.
Amy gets an A plus.
Absolutely.
Olympic 10.0. There you go.
Thank you.
And, we have 3 members who are up for reappointment.
Mr. Chair,
Excuse me, Clint. Do you mind voting on those?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay, so
Good catch, Amy. Good catch.
Get another A for that one, Amy.
I'll entertain a motion to accept the meeting minutes of January 26th with one minor amendment.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Brian,
Aye.
Neil,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Ariane.
Hi, if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you, and Noel.
Hi.
It's a unanimous vote.
Don't do that.
Okay. So there are only 2 items on the agenda tonight. And we are a couple of minutes early, like 9 minutes early. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up that hearing and continue the discussion for the next agenda item, which is the Bungay Brook Estates application. Okay, the Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold continuations of, nope, wrong one. Hold on. Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold continuations of public hearings in accordance with the Mass Wetlands Protection Act, General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw on the notice of intent for the proposal to construct a parking lot site grading, stormwater management within a 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands associated with the construction of 110 townhouse dwellings in 36 buildings for the proposed residential subdivision entitled Bungay Brook Estates, located at Assessors Map 93, Parcel 22, 30 Locust Street, Bellingham. James Almonte, Land Design Collaborative, Westboro, Mass. Has submitted the filing on behalf of Stephen Acasa, Westboro, Mass. The continuations will be held online via the Zoom option on Wednesday, February 9th at 7:30. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, that's yours. So at the last continuation, we were awaiting the final, what we hope was the final revision of plans showing the roof leaders and the soil testing information and information from our peer reviewer to take a look at that and make sure everything was good. We also indicated that we would commence the development of the order of conditions, which we have done. In the process of doing that, we're about 98% completed with that. There are a couple of items that we're going to request from the applicant. But what I'd like to do is just quickly run down BSC's, what I hope is final peer review. So, and I thought I had it right in front of me, and I do. Frank is here. And I think if we get right to the meat of this letter, by any chance, do you have a copy of that letter that you could share with us, Frank?
Let's see if I can do that. Hang on.
Sure.
And let's see. I will try to share my screen. Let's see, can I do that?
Where are you? There he is.
Here we go. Let me try that again. Wait a sec.
Is there welcome?
Noel, did you give him ability to share his screen?
Yep, I believe it's set to all participants.
Oh, okay. All right, no problem. If it's not going to work, oh, it looks like we're at
I
something.
have it. Okay.
Hey, there it is. Okay.
Awesome.
I did it without having to do a lifeline to my granddaughter, who's 11.
All right. Okay. So
Good.
yeah, we know the basis for review and submitted materials. We know the criteria. So I think we want to go to, that's where we want to go. All right. We had a fairly lengthy but productive discussion at our last continuation, and by agreement, the commission decided that it was appropriate, based on numerous test borings, that we would only require one test pit in each of the drainage structures, with the exception of the structure that was to the south. And so that information was provided. And Frank had an opportunity to look at it, and based on your letter, Frank, I don't want to put words in your mouth, or maybe you can say it yourself, but there were no anomalies that we discovered with that one boring where there was some perched soil. Is that correct?
That's correct. The excavation was down at least 4 feet below the bottom of the proposed bottom of all the infiltration basins. So again, nothing that we thought was going to be, there's no surprises, I guess, as far as that stuff goes.
Okay, so I also took a look at those test pit, the test pit data, and found that it's, for the most part, consistent with the site-wide work that was done with the borings. Okay.
So there's one more test pit that we need to
There's
get.
one more test pit that will have to be evaluated. And what we've done is we've already put that into the order of conditions so that during construction of the stormwater management system, when the larger equipment is present on site, that basin will have a deep hole test performed, and the data will be submitted to the commission. I think that was our agreement.
Is James there?
Is James here? Oh, yeah, there he is. I see him. Okay.
So, yep, I'm here. Sorry about that. I was just unmuting myself.
No, it's okay. So that's consistent with the agreement that we had at our last meeting. Then we get to number 3, which is the infiltration. I've already had a conversation with Frank, and again, during our last continuation, there was some lengthy discussion about where the commission was coming from with the requirement for roof infiltration. It is a policy that's been in place since 1996, and it is not in the regulations. And by mutual agreement and negotiation, what the commission decided was that we would be amenable to just having the front half of each one of the buildings infiltrated. The back parts of the building would be sheet flow and absorbed into the ground in the backyards. During review of the details, the infiltration units in the front were sized large enough to support infiltration from both the front and the back. Now, Frank, correct me if I'm out of line here, but that provides a margin of safety. And even though it's our policy to try to infiltrate the 100-year storm, again, it is all policy. And with the oversized infiltration structures in the front, we do have more infiltration than the 10-year storm. Is that?
That's correct. I would agree with that. It may even be approaching like a 25-year design storm capacity, which is what's typically used for roadway drainage.
Okay. So I think again, we are in line with the agreements that we made, and the information that was presented is appropriate. The next item is really something that is more DPW and planning board concern. I'll let Frank address the piping.
Sure. So, and a lot of this is just me pretending to be, I'm a hydraulics teacher. In general, the applicant provided calculations to size each of the drainage pipes within the roadway drainage system. They also provided plans to show the drainage areas. We have no problems with that. On a couple of the pipes, 3 of them to be more exact, the flows going into the pipe produced a bit of a sort of a headwater, if you will. The hydraulic grade line at the upstream end of the culvert was higher than the top of the pipe. That can tend to increase the water and as it goes upstream throughout the drainage system. So looking at the pipes, there were 3 sections that we noted here that maybe you want to do an evaluation. And quite honestly, looking at the numbers, I think they were all 12-inch pipes. If you made the 12-inch pipe a 15-inch pipe, that would have the capacity you need. And you may not, depending on what the commission wants to do, you may not have to do any evaluations. But it was a relatively minor type thing in the weeds of engineering calculations.
Okay, so do we have any comments from the applicant's representative? I know this is all brand new. We got it today. Normally, we don't process information that comes in at the last minute, but you know, our peer reviewer has had a bout with COVID, and it seems like much of the information that was here is consistent with what we required and what we expected. So sizing the pipe to a 15 rather than a 12, is that going to be a problem?
This is Mike Scott. No, I mean, I'll start with saying no. And, you know, Frank's understanding the analysis method that Frank was describing, you know, we use a different tool. I'll maybe say it's a little more advanced than the old Manning's open channel analysis methodology, but it's commonly used. And if we were to run the same model with a larger pipe, we're obviously going to get a slightly more, you know, call it friendlier result. The water level, the water depth and velocity will be a little lower and slower, if you will. So happy to take a look at the handful of pipes. You know, we've used this, it's DOT's use it, our Army Corps uses this methodology. So, but I'm happy to look at a handful of pipes, and if they need to go up from 12 to 15 to 18, I don't see that as a real.
Oh, okay.
I just have a question, Mr. Chairman. We appreciate you looking into that, Mike. And so if there are going to be some changes, I'm just questioning how we are going to handle those revisions.
Well, I think, you know, from our perspective, ideally, if you could condition that, you know, we provide the drawing with, you know, the 3 pipes, if need be, revised and an explanation. If we find that there's no significant change, then we would just, you know, want to leave it the same size it is. But again, you know, we're more than willing to modify 3 pipes to be 15 inches or 18 inches. And, you know, there's probably 50 or 80 pipes on the site. So that's a pretty insignificant, you know, plan revision.
Of course, I realize that. So from an administrative point of view, so is there a way that you could put that on just a plan sheet that we could reference as in the plan of record?
Yeah, we could get you something, and absolutely.
Like an addendum.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay,
perfect.
that would be fine, just as long as I have something in the file. Thank you.
Yeah, understood.
All right. And
That's really all the comments I had. Everything else is sort of requested waivers that really either go to the commission or the planning board. I have no other comments.
perfect. Okay, so now during the development of the order conditions, we came up with a couple of things that we're going to ask the applicant to do for us. This should not be a difficult thing. And what I'm going to suggest is that we provide you with this request, and once we get it, we'll finish the order. And what we're looking at here is the operation and maintenance plan that was submitted with the drainage report. And for a development this size, it's a little bit on the thin side. So we want to flesh it out with a little additional information. And what we're going to need is we're going to need you to specify that this is going to be owned and operated by an association of some sort. because it's not on the operation and maintenance plan. We'd like it to be right on there so that they know what their duties and responsibilities are once the project is complete and they have ownership. The next thing is,
Excuse me, is that the only thing on the O&M plan? Oh, okay, sorry. Go ahead.
okay, the next thing is we want to put a special line item in the O&M plan relative to snow removal so that we know that the site's a little tight when it comes to snow removal. You have options, but we'd like something in there to explain to a contractor in the future what their duties and responsibilities are. And in the event they exceeded snow storage capacity in the site, that they would have to remove it from the site. And then the next item is we're not sure whether or not fencing is going to be required. I think that you'll be meeting with the planning board shortly tomorrow, and you may get the answer to that question. I think we made it pretty clear early on. We have no preference. We would prefer there not to be fencing on the site, but quote, not having a dog in the fight, it's not one of our issues. If there is no fencing on the site, we're going to condition the project in such a way that we're going to ask you to put up posts and signs to highlight the fact that to landscaping contractors, those low areas are not to be filled with grass clippings, shrub trimmings, or leaves or anything of that nature, because our experience with condo developments, townhouse developments is that landscapers tend to get a little lazy, look for anywhere they can to dump stuff just to get rid of it. So we're going to ask you to put something in the O&M plan saying that these areas are not to be receptacles for yard waste. And that includes dumping off the high points into resource areas on the north or the south. So that's all related to the O&M plan. Did you have something else to add?
No.
Okay. The last thing I had was the vegetative buffer that's going to be planted to the north of the property to provide a screen for between the project and the abutters. Want to make sure that the plantings occur during a time of year, and we're working on that condition now. We want to make sure that it's amenable to planting. In other words, a couple of times in the past, we've neglected to specify when these plantings should occur. They happen in August, the trees die, and then, it's a real headache. So what we're going to do in the conditions, we wanted to discuss with you tonight what you're anticipating for doing that parking area and then planting. There's two times a year that it's acceptable to plant. One of them is in the spring, no later than June, and then the other one is September, October. Those are the times that are best. So do you have any thoughts on when what might work for you?
Yeah, this is Steve when it comes to the applicant.
Sure.
I've been doing this, my whole life, 40 plus years, and I concur with you completely. And the only time that we plant out of sequence is when we're being forced to by some regulatory agent who's demanding us to plant a certain time schedule. So we concur with you, and that's what we would do because we only want to do the work once and we want it to survive. So we don't need to be told. We're happy if you put it in there, but we really don't need to be told to do that. We know this. But again, we're on the same page. We concur.
Okay.
And if I
So
may-
then what, go ahead.
If I may add something, we thank you for that. As we move forward, and we'll more than likely have a pre-construction meeting. It's possible that we'd have one with some of the other town boards. I'm not sure, maybe the department heads, whatever, but we will ask for a pre-construction meeting. And probably at that time, we would ask that you provide a construction schedule, and that this planting can be incorporated into that schedule. And I think that would suffice.
Sure.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. And then the only other thing we'll do is we put in a monitoring protocol when we have plantings, and all it is, it's a yearly report where someone goes out, looks at the plantings. If they see mortality, they let us know, okay, we had this bush die, or 2 of these trees didn't make it, and then they're replanted.
It's fine.
Are there any questions from the commission?
I would just, I would like to, just reiterate the focus on the snow storage. And from what I've seen recently, coordinating the snow storage plan, making sure that the snow storage plan and the landscaping plan are both on the same plan and not on different pages, because they frequently can interfere with each other. And the snow storage plan shows where fences, decorative fences, and trees and shrubs have been placed, which is those 2 uses are incompatible. So just one thing to look at when you're doing that those plans need to be coordinated.
Right, that's a good idea.
So can I just address that one comment? So when we do landscaping around areas that may be shared with snow storage, we usually try to spec plants like perennials that are seasonal, like ornamental grasses and perennials that are dormant during the winter, so there won't be any problems with having snow being stored on top of them. So if we do that, and if we should,
Pine trees aren't a good mix.
No.
No, that's what I've run into
Right.
where I am with snow storage in this exact scenario.
Right, and yeah, and then you have salt spray damage. So we typically don't, spec things like that next to areas that are going to be snow plowed.
Mr. Chair, this might seem totally obvious to people, including the people developing the site, but as Neil said, the snow storage is important. Does the contractor that is designated by the association or whoever is hiring them for that first year, for example, to snowplow, and subsequent contractors that may replace them, is it required somewhere in writing that they are given a set of plans which show clearly on a set of plans? Because I don't think you have signs marked snow storage here that are permanent throughout the site. Maybe I'm wrong. And so if it's a landscape area that has grasses in the summertime, they're walking the site over and they're just told over here, and then a different guy is plowing in the crew and doesn't have a clue that winter, they could be putting in the right spot or not. So is it designated, and are they required to make sure that the contractor has those plans?
How about if we do this? We've already requested that they add some items to the operation and maintenance plan. So what we can do is we can put a condition in there, an ongoing condition, saying that landscapers and contractors who are going to be responsible for this get a copy of the operation and maintenance plan, and no storage plan is part of it. Would that make sense? I mean, the developer will be gone, so it's going to be up to the homeowners association. And it is going to be a homeowners association, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it will be incumbent on them to pass that information on as part of the ongoing conditions. Does that make sense, Mike?
Yeah, I think that, and having a set of plans that have it actually marked so that the contractor is not supposed to remember it or like I said, not remember to designate the right areas to the guy that's actually, or lady who's sitting behind the wheel plowing that winter, and they just assume the spot looks good and it's not one of the designated spots, and whatever. So yeah, a set of plans and the instructions passed along to the contractors in order to conditions, I think it's fine.
I'm just curious if the applicant, if James, do you have any comment on that? Or Stephen, do you have any comments as to how you would handle something like that?
Well, most of the time, but not all the time, most of the time, the landscape contractor and the snowplower are one and the same, because they tend to, one business slows down and the other one speeds up. So, but it's not always the case, and it would be up to the condo association who they hire. But most of the time that I see the contracts, it's the same contractor. I know we have that when we do it our own, when we're in charge, we do that because we work with the same people. But, you know, going forward, we have no control. None of us have any control over that in the future. So I think if we put it in their agreement that they get a copy of the snow storage plan, I think that's probably the best we're gonna do.
You know, we understand that once the project is built and sold, that you have no more duties or responsibilities, but we always have ongoing conditions. So we want to make sure that those concerns are addressed.
We
I'd have,
build it out. We can't control it. Even if we want to, we can't. We
Right.
don't have to.
Right.
I'd have to agree with Stephen on that, having served on a condo board, that the landscaping and the snow plow contractor kind of go hand in hand. It's usually the same one.
We have different contractors. We put out the landscaping and the snow plowing as different contracts and got different bids. It is a landscaper, but it's not the guy doing the lawns, doing the plowing. So just a little different.
Yeah, I'm sure it works both ways, but I think frequently they're one and the same.
Okay, so hopefully they'll communicate interdepartmentally with their companies to address that. But I don't think there's a lot of issues remaining. So what we're going to do is, you know, as soon as we get that fleshed out operation and maintenance plan, we'll use it as a separate item, and we'll call it out separately in the plans of record. And that'll make it a lot easier for us to make sure that the condo association has that. Frank, do you have anything to add?
Nope, I think that sounds fine to me.
Okay, there are some folks here. Yep. Okay, there are some folks here. Are there any questions or comments from the general public? Anybody have something to say?
Hi, my name's Brian Rhodes. I'm one of the abutters to the north. Steve Anacasa and Jim had met with me, and I was requesting them do the landscaping buffer to the north at the beginning of the project. And Steve had actually mentioned the same exact thing that the board had mentioned earlier about the times of year to plant, which totally makes sense to make sure it just gets done once to make it efficient. My only question for Steve was, what phase of the project? I know you said it would probably be up to maybe a 3-year project. Would you be planning on planting like the first spring or first fall, whatever is more convenient, that you start the project? Or were you leaning more towards the end of the project?
It wouldn't be the end of the project, but it would not be the first part of the project, because we have so much infrastructure and things going on that we need to get all the hardscaping and infrastructure in before we start to plant things, obviously. So I think whenever it's appropriate, when we have areas finished and we're wrapping them up, and then typically I like the fall. I like September, October is better. It seems like in the spring that, you know, it seems it's wet, and then it's June, and then it's too hot. So I don't like the spring. I like the fall. So
Yeah, that's what you had mentioned. I was hoping you would be looking towards fall of 2022. But, and then the other thing we were discussing is if you weren't doing it right away, to put up a construction fence with, I think you talked about like the black vinyl or something on it, just to keep, my concern was the noise because of all the 18 wheelers going in and all the construction equipment for the few years. but also the tremendous amount of dust. So I just wanted to bring up our conversation about that. So, I was hoping for October 2022, and, if it seems in line with your project timeline, if not, then the fence, obviously.
That sounds a little aggressive, me to get that area all done and wrapped up, but though there's not a lot of work going on near your house, so I don't anticipate that problem. Most of the heavy infrastructure is quite a ways, I think between 500 and 1,000 feet away, so there's a good buffer there.
All right, I'm just reiterating what you had said before. So thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Comments?
I just had I don't know if you're still open to the public, but just a question or request, if we can get a copy of the draft conditions, so we, if there's stuff that we can start working on now, that'd be great. If we could just get when you're at a point where you're ready to share a draft set of conditions, we'd like to get a copy if possible.
Yeah, okay, well,
It is not our policy to share those. Anything that we put in the conditions is things that we talked about at the hearing. We're working on it diligently. We will get it to you as soon as we get the permit issued. But we never hand out our draft conditions, James.
Okay, thank you.
yeah, I mean, people ask, we've never done it. What we tell applicants when they ask is that there are no surprises. Everything that was discussed as part of the record will be in the order. There's no surprises. We've issued 1,000 permits, and I think we've had 15 appeals.
Thank you.
All right. There's not a lot of information. Frank is satisfied. Oh, there's one other thing. I think it's a housekeeping item. I think it pertains to, there may be a shortfall, a small shortfall in the peer review account. I'm going to leave that to the administrator and BSC and the applicant to work out
In the planning board.
in the planning board, because sometimes with concurrent reviews, it's difficult to exactly estimate time expenditure. So I just want to let you know, I don't think it's a big deal, but it's something that will be addressed. I'm hoping that you'll be able to provide this information. I don't think it's too difficult. I'd really like to only go 2 weeks on this continuation, at which time we'll have the order completed. If we get the information on the revised operation and maintenance plan, what we would do, we'll get it. The administrator will submit the draft to the board. At the next meeting, we'll open the hearing, close it, and vote to issue the order.
Okay, so we would need, we need the plan sheet too, the sheet with the piping that Mike was gonna work on.
Right,
Whatever we talked about tonight.
right.
We need all of that information.
So the 2 weeks that shouldn't be a problem, right? Or should it? Do you think you can do that? In 2 weeks, you can have your permit.
Yeah, I don't think that would be a problem.
Well, that's what we'll shoot for.
Yeah, if we run into a problem, then we'll just have to continue. That's all.
Sure.
But know this, know that the work is substantively completed, and
We're so close. We really
we're very
are
close.
very
These are the
close.
last issues we have, and they're minor.
Yep, agreed. Thank you.
Okay. That being the case, I'll entertain a motion to continue the hearing to the evening of February 23rd at 7:25.
So moved.
Brian,
Second.
was that Ariane?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm home now.
Any discussion? All in favor? Neil?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Ariane?
Bye.
Noel?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
All right.
You only get one.
Yeah, that only counts as one eye.
The next two are for the next two things I need to approve.
That's a unanimous vote. So we'll see you in a couple of weeks, and hopefully we'll be able to tell you when we're gonna sign the permit.
Thank you.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Um, I see Jeff Krebs is here.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay,
His administrative issue, Jeff, we had continued the hearing.
Yes. No, I did not pop on. I was not able to pop on. I was indisposed at the moment.
so yeah,
I just wanted to pop on and listen in and see if there was anything, if you guys actually did need to throw anything or ask anything, or if there's anything else that you guys wanted to, but I know you guys already continued probably, so I'd assume such.
yeah, I know you've been dealing with DOT on this one. And,
Yes.
and DOT wanted that drainage improvement. You know, DOT may have to figure out what they want to do with getting a positive flow away from the outfall on that pipe, if that's a requirement. Now, if they're going to have to get an easement, or they're going to have to reimburse you for work for doing that, I don't know, but it just seems annoying that, you know, they're requiring this work to be done, and yet because of their inaction over the past decades, we have a situation that is not allowing the water to go where it's supposed to go.
Yep.
I don't know.
Is
I
there,
don't
is there
think-
anything, is there anything in particular that the commission or Frank would like me to ask to try to ferry along to DOT to try to free? I'm more than happy to try to work and see what we can get out of DOT to help put anything to rest. I mean, Campanelli wants to be a good partner in town.
Yeah, we don't want to hold this up, but on the other side of the coin, we don't want to have the water coming out of that pipe sitting there until it just backs up and eventually potentially surcharges. We don't want that either. So
Absolutely, because I mean, one of the whole things that caused us to even add they caused us to add more. I think originally we were going to have there's one existing, we were going to add like 3 or 4 new catch basins. And I think it ended up being like 5 or 6 new catch basins. I can't remember the design off the top of my head, but it was something along those lines where it increased, and it increased because of the conditions at the shoulder, and they were concerned about the issue at the shoulder and too much water at the shoulder causing hydroplaning issues. So I mean, a pipe backing up it has the same issue. So I think I can, through my engineer, I can have him talk to Mass DOT. I just want to try to make sure that if there's specific things that you want to try to me to ask, or for my engineer for Keith Lincoln to ask of Mass DOT. If I don't know, maybe if Frank or the commission or you or Ann could shoot me an email and just kind of say, hey, could you ask these to, or if you want to just give it, I'll write it down right now. Whatever works, I'm more than amenable.
we may need an easement. They may need an easement because I'm not sure that it's acceptable to just, based on site conditions, if it becomes a requirement to have to do a little excavation to create a channel there, there should be an easement or something. I don't know how DOT works, but the country drainage with a discharge onto somebody's property, those days are gone. So somewhere along the line.
Good riddance, honestly. All right. So I'll ask Keith Lincoln to talk to Eric Nascimento at Mass DOT about, and kind of, I don't know if Keith has passed along the videos and the photos of that I conveyed to you guys. So I'll make sure that he's done that and kind of review and iterate what you guys are, it truly is. And I have it in email, and I can't remember, I forwarded the email to you. I have it in email in writing from Eric that he recognizes that this issue is a Mass DOT issue and not a Campanelli issue. So
you're caught between us and DOT is what it is. But
luckily, it's not like we can do the work right this minute. So it's not, as long as we get it, we can get, and I'm pretty confident we're going to be able to get to a resolution. It's more of a, I'm more than happy to extract out of Mass DOT what I can to help the town, and whatever gets it done.
And help them too.
Well, I mean, ultimately it helps them. I mean, I think I highlighted that with the hydroplaning. I mean, they kind of dragged our permitting process out because of that. So
I'm glad that we kept the hearing open, because we're going to be able to cover all of this as part of the open hearing process. And when the orders develop, we'll have it all covered. Frank was out there today. If Frank, if you would just, again, if you don't mind repeating.
No, yeah, not a problem. So I sort of see two issues to be addressed. About 15, 20 feet from the outfall, there's some sediment, and there was a stand of Phragmites that essentially was creating like a mini dam, that the water was backing up to almost to the top of the outfall, the 12-inch outfall pipe, and then it was dropping down. And then the second, so I think, again, some grading in that area to make sure you've got a channel, maybe riprap or something, I don't know, to help the sediment, help the plants not grow. But the other piece is there's a lot of sediment out there from that buried manhole and the pipe that's dumping all kinds of sediment into that area. The whole downstream area is full of that. And I think that needs to be addressed in some way, long-term, because you're going to end up allowing the sediment to, again, get deposited downstream of the outfall, block it up again, and reduce the capacity of that pipe.
Yep. Absolutely. 100% agree with everything you just stated, Frank. And based off of the videos and everything my site super provided that I shot over to Ann and Cliff the other day, and based off of I walked yesterday morning, I walked around that area as well to try to just put some eyes on it. And I 100% agree with you with the Phragmites and all of that. And just to reiterate from the previous meeting, Campanelli is committed to cleaning, uncovering the structure, cleaning the structure. I mean, and trying to nudge DOT along to come investigate where that pipe leads. So, I mean, I believe what I've been coordinating out when the weather is suitable enough to do it. I wish I had known last week that this Saturday was going to be 54 degrees, that just try to see if I can get them even off hours to try to get out and jet that. But they have to to vac out that entire structure, and then they have to jet up the pipe to get as much of the sediment to come down, and then revac the structure. But trying to put as much of an advance notice to Mass DOT as soon as we have that scheduled, to try to get their maintenance division to actually get it on their docket to come out.
It would be really nice to know where the inlet of that pipe is.
Yes.
Hopefully it's not something that's just broken, and it's in the ground, and
it could have been an illicit connection that was severed and not properly remediated at the structure, or it could be that Eric Nasiamento even indicated that it may not actually truly be an illicit connection. Sometimes I think what he conveyed was that sometimes that if their drainage or lack thereof has created issues for abutters to the road, sometimes they've allowed things to be amended into their structures and such. They don't do the policy of the now is to not allow that, but he said, like, back in the 90s they were and they were doing that from time to time as on a case-by-case basis. So we're partnering with you. We want to get it resolved, and I'll nudge talk to Keith Lincoln and see if he can nudge Eric tomorrow or tomorrow or Friday to try to see what he can convey about it.
As soon as we can get out there with with an auger and a spade, do a little digging around and find out what the depth of that silt deposition is, that'll give us some more information. Again, I'll reiterate, I'm willing to go out there and do that. I'll put eyes on it for the Conservation Commission so that we know what we're dealing with, and then we can come up with a plan that.
It's been warm enough right now that the top layers, we might be able to actually go and investigate that. Do you have any availability Friday or Saturday to take a look?
I could probably do something on a Friday, but you may find that the top 6 inches or so is soft, but I don't know about the frost is pretty deep.
Do you want me to, I'm gonna be on site tomorrow. Do you want me to
Sure.
to take a look and shoot you an email?
Yep, sure, check it out. I have a site.
I'll be on the
inspection.
site in the afternoon.
I have something at 10 o'clock on Friday. Sometime Friday morning, I could probably go out after that, and we have 10, right?
Yeah.
Caroline. Okay.
I
So-
was out with one of our environmental people this morning, right near that site, and he was trying to auger. He got down a couple of inches and then the ground was frozen, so we couldn't go
Yeah.
too far.
Okay.
But you've got a couple
Wishful
more days
thinking.
of warm weather.
Yeah,
Because I'm anticipating needing to go down several feet.
yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Wishful thinking on my part.
But you can, if you're going to be out there, check it out.
Oh well, I'm going to be on site to meet some window guys. So, sure. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll let you know. Either way, I'll either leave a voicemail for Ann or shoot you an email. Email
Okay.
would probably be the preference, but
Okay.
awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, yeah, you missed the
Thank you.
meeting, but we brought you up to speed.
Hey, I appreciate that, and I appreciate your grace and your patience with our issues.
We want to make it right.
Absolutely agreed.
Okay, any other questions? Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, I'm glad we got that.
Any further
No, can't we stay longer?
I know.
No, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, by unanimous vote.
signatures, Ann? Do you need signatures, Ann?
No,
Not
I
yet.
don't. No, not.
Okay, instead of on the minutes, so I mean, on the agenda, I want to make sure. Okay, good.
I will be in touch with you to let you know about the potential sidewalk for Saturday.